Most men think respect is something you demand, negotiate, or earn through approval. It's not. Respect is a reaction people have when your life is structured, your boundaries are clear, and your presence is grounded. You don't get respected because you talk well, argue your case, or explain yourself into exhaustion. You get respected when your life quietly signals that you don't need validation to move forward. Look around. The men who are constantly asking for respect are usually the ones getting the least of it. They over-explain. They react emotionally. They chase outcomes instead of building foundations. Meanwhile, the men who are hardest to shake, hardest to manipulate, and hardest to ignore are rarely the loudest in the room. Their life does the talking for them. This video isn't about becoming intimidating, arrogant, or cold. It's about building a life so disciplined, so aligned, and so intentional that respect becomes unavoidable. Not because you want power over others, but because you have power over yourself. When your standards are high, your habits are solid, and your direction is clear, people feel it before you ever speak. If you've ever felt overlooked, underestimated, or disrespected despite knowing you have more in you, this is where the shift begins. Not by changing how you're perceived, but by changing how you live. The foundation of a respected life isn't confidence, charisma, or dominance. It's structure. Men who command respect live in a way that is predictable to themselves and solid under pressure. They wake up with intention. They move with routine. Their days aren't chaotic, reactive, or dictated by how they feel in the moment. That internal order shows up externally, whether they try to project it or not. Most men lose respect because their lives are disorganized. They chase motivation instead of discipline. They say one thing and do another. They let emotions decide their actions, then wonder why people don't take them seriously. Respect erodes when your behavior is inconsistent, even if your intentions are good. People trust what's repeatable, not what's emotional. When your life has structure, consistent habits, clear priorities, and standards you actually enforce, you become reliable. Not boring, reliable. And reliability is one of the most underrated sources of respect. It signals strength, self-control, and maturity. People sense that you're not easily swayed, not easily thrown off course, and not dependent on external validation to function. This is why men who train consistently, manage their finances, protect their time, and keep promises tend to be treated differently. It's not because they demand respect. It's because their life proves they respect themselves first. Structure is silent authority. It removes the need to convince anyone of who you are, because your behavior already makes it clear. If you want respect, don't start with your image. Start with your systems. Build a life that runs whether anyone is watching or not. That's where respect begins. There's a massive difference between having standards and enforcing them. Most men claim standards, but the moment those standards are tested by a woman, a friend, a boss, or life itself, they fold. They tolerate disrespect, make excuses for bad behavior, and negotiate against their own boundaries just to keep peace. That's where respect quietly dies. A man who commands respect doesn't argue about his standards. He doesn't threaten. He doesn't over-explain. He simply removes access when something crosses a line. And that consistency is what people respond to. The world doesn't respect words. It respects consequences. If your standards don't cost anyone anything when they're violated, they're not standards. They're preferences. This is especially visible in relationships. The men who are nice but ignored, usually aren't lacking kindness. They're lacking enforcement. They say they want honesty, effort, and respect, but they stay when those things disappear. Over time, people learn exactly how much they can get away with. Not because they're evil, but because human behavior adapts to what's allowed. Respect grows when people know where you stand and believe you'll stand there even if it costs you comfort, approval, or connection. That's why walking away calmly often earns more respect than staying and explaining yourself into exhaustion. It signals self-trust. It signals options. It signals that your life doesn't collapse when someone disapproves of you. A man with enforced standards doesn't need to be loud. He doesn't need to posture. His presence already carries weight because people know he won't betray himself to keep them. And paradoxically, the less he needs others to stay, the more seriously he's taken when he does. Here's the part most men misunderstand. Respect isn't something you demand from others. It's something your life quietly earns over time. Men who command respect don't wake up one day and decide to be respected. They build a life that makes disrespect irrational. That life starts internally. It's built on discipline when no one is watching, self-control when reacting would be easier, and long-term thinking when short-term relief is tempting. A man who commands respect doesn't live reactively. He doesn't let emotions, validation, or chaos dictate his decisions. He moves deliberately. People feel that difference immediately. Externally, this shows up in how he handles pressure. When things go wrong, he doesn't spiral. When he's tested, he doesn't perform. When he's disrespected, he doesn't explode. He adjusts access. That calm response unsettles people more than aggression ever could, because it signals stability. And stability is rare. Over time, this way of living compounds. His relationships become cleaner. His circle gets smaller but stronger. His word starts to mean something because he doesn't give it lightly. And slowly, without trying to dominate anyone, he becomes someone others naturally defer to. Not out of fear, out of recognition. This is the truth most men never hear. Respect follows men who are aligned, not men who are loud. It follows men who can walk away without bitterness, who choose their battles, and who build a life that doesn't hinge on approval. When your identity, boundaries, and purpose are solid, people adjust to you. That's what it really means to build a life that commands respect. Not control over others, control over yourself. If there's one thing to take from this, it's this. Respect is not something you chase, negotiate, or explain into existence. It's the natural byproduct of the standards you live by every single day. When you stop reacting emotionally, stop over-explaining yourself, and stop building your life around validation, everything shifts. People don't need convincing, they feel it. A man who commands respect doesn't do it by force. He does it by alignment. His actions match his words. His boundaries are clear. His life has direction. And when something or someone no longer aligns with that direction, he doesn't argue. He moves on. Calmly. Cleanly. Without needing permission. If you're serious about building that kind of life, one rooted in discipline, self-respect, emotional control, and long-term thinking, then stay here. This channel exists for men who are done performing and ready to build something solid. If this video resonated, like it so more men who need this message can find it. Comment what part hit home for you. I read them. And subscribe if you're committed to becoming the kind of man whose presence alone commands respect.